So, hello and welcome to this episode of Unbound. I'm Nicola Humber, author of Unbound and founder of the Unbound Press. And today I'm kind of bubbling over with excitement because I'm joined by Lisa Lister. So welcome, Lisa.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, you're so welcome. Can't wait to dive into this with you, because this month, as part of the Magical Portal project, we are really exploring and focusing on the transformation that happens when we decide to write books, but it doesn't often feel like a decision. I know for Lisa, you've spoken her, it feels, it's like this calling that we can have, but it can end up being like this deeply transformational process. And from reading, I think I've read all of your books, Lisa. Lisa's the author of Code Red, Love Your Lady Landscape, which is not easy to say, and Witch. And I've loved all of those. I mean, Witch, when I read that book, I just felt, I don't know, I just could, just such a deep sense of remembering, actually. It was incredible, but we'll dive into all of that anyway. This is why I wanted to get Lisa on, because I just get too excited and I'll just kind of talk, and I need to make space for Lisa. So thank you for agreeing to have this conversation, which will be a conversation. So let's dive in, Lisa. And your very first book, what made you decide to write that?
So do you mean Code Red, or do you mean my first book?
Your first book.
Okay, so my first book was called Think Pink. Mm-hmm. And it was a kind of self-help book for teen girls. I was an agony aunt for Ms. Magazine at the time, and it was just so clear to me that these girls weren't loving, that they didn't love themselves. And then I was taking a look at myself as a woman. I was a young woman at the time, and I was mid-20s, and I'm like, I want to be able to help these women, these young girls, to turn into women who have big, massive love for themselves. Because I was at mid-20s, and I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, it gets better mm-hmm. at that time. And then, of course, it does. And, of course, it did. And, of course, it was very different. And so I wanted to make sure that I could provide a way in which they felt, held, whilst also recognizing that writing a book for teen girls was going to be medicine for my teen girl self and medicine for me in the process.
Absolutely. So you recognize that.
I don't know if I recognized it at the time. It was more like oh my goodness, these women are writing, these girls are writing in with these problems, and I'm a woman, and I'm a trained coach, I'm a trained person that's here to respond to their letters. And I'm also aware that me and my friends who, like I say, mid-20s at the time, mm-hmm. were still talking about some of those problems. We're still experiencing some of those problems. So it was like, actually, can I write something that would help, heal me in the process, but also help these young girls who were, who were writing in every week, and it was like similar problems, body image, hate, a lot of hate towards their bodies. And like I say, I was also recognizing that similar conversations were playing out with my friends, with my girlfriends. And then I was also witnessing that while sitting in that position as somebody that was perceived as somebody who maybe has got her shit together, maybe knows what she's doing because she's got a qualification so she can answer some questions, was like, actually, I'm not so sure either. So there was a lot of parts to that, but ultimately it was to help me, them, all of us.
Exactly. And has that been a theme, kind of like recognizing that there's a need for something to be shared, but also at the same time knowing that it will be kind of medicine for you as well, like for where you are in your life and what's coming up for you? Has it been the same for all of your books?
I think so. I think like the last three have been way more selfish. I've really been like, I'm blessed that my work has meant that I've worked for magazines, and so that I've always had a position whereby I was connected to what was up for people. So I guess I had an awareness. There was definitely an awareness. But the last three, specifically Code Red, for example, was really about, I couldn't have sold that book if I tried. And I did try. Like, I could not stand it. Like, what, you want to talk about periods? You want to talk about women bleeding? Oh, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you.
It's so amazing to think that now, though, isn't it?
I know. It's brilliant in a way to see how many like books are on the market right now, and how many, like, how easeful it feels like for most magazines to have tackled it at least once in a feature, right? Which is, you know, totally unheard of. And now there's like beautiful unfoldings. But when I wrote it back in 2015, you know, Code Red back in 2015, like, that was definitely medicine for me. Like, I wanted to write it. I knew that there was way more to our menstrual cycle. You know, I was blessed that I got to do training with some beautiful wise women around it, and then just to recognize that there was nothing out there. Like, it was way spiritual. Like, there was either like super goddessy spiritual stuff, or there was super like sciencey, doctor, nursey stuff. But there was nothing whereby we could just look and go, oh, we're cyclic. Like, oh, and actually, like, I can feel this. My mood might be this. It might mean that I act a certain way. It might mean I feel a certain way. And so I needed that medicine first and foremost. So I created that book for me, and self-published it, because like, I tried. I tried. And I had a really good relationship with publishers. I'd been an editor. I'd been like, I'd worked for some of the big publishers. So I thought, like, they're going to get this. They're going to understand that there's a need for this. No.
Nice.
And what's beautiful now is that they have, and that they've recognised, and that there are lots of books for us to kind of choose from, which I am all about. So yeah, I'm very happy about that.
I mean, I remember, because I'm on your mailing list, and I remember when your work started to move in that direction, you know, before you, probably as you were writing Code Red and before it was released. And I remember like reading your emails, and, you know, you talking about, you know, what was coming through in your work, and the direction you wanted to move in, and how that felt quite scary to actually say, actually, this is what I'm going to be talking about now.
I know. Like, you choose it. That's what I mean when you're asking at first, like, so do you just like, no, if I had my way as to what to write about, I'd be sitting writing chick lit all day long, thank you. I'd be writing like love stories, romance. I'd be on laying on a chaise lounge. Someone would be typing that shit up for me. I'd be like Barbara Cartland, like eating grapes. That's the ideal scenario. So that would be it. But like you said at the beginning of this, you know, when it's more of a call, when like you're being asked to show up and put some words on paper about a thing that clearly like you are experiencing, and like, so, you know, so for many people you see that they're writing from a place of expertise, or they're, you know, I'm not claiming in any of the books that I've written, not from when I started Think Pink to now, that I've got anything figured out and that I'm right, or that this is a method that works. I'm not selling a method, I'm not selling a thing. It's like, literally, I'm showing up, putting some words on paper, sharing what's moving through me, in the hope that someone will pick it up and be like, that's moving through me too, thank fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, when it comes to writing, a lot of, like, particularly women will think, oh, I can't write about this because I'm not an expert on it yet. I need to get to this point before I can write a book about it or write anything about it. And it's like, no, like, this is where the juice is, when it is moving through. It's so powerful to read that.
And it's brave. And I'm not just saying it from my perspective, but when I read somebody who is sharing from a place of, like, I haven't got it figured out, but I've experienced this, and this is my experience, and this is what I've learned from it. Or even braver still, which I still, you know, it still gives me goosebumps to think, like, there are people that write it from the moment, like, from writing from in the experience, when they really haven't got it figured out.
Yeah.
Like, we need more women's voices like that. We need more women to be sharing from, like, the dirt their experience or what they have experienced. Like I say, like sometimes retrospect is helpful, like so that we give ourselves a little space.
Yeah.
I've definitely shared from the dirt before and then regretted it. So I'll be truly honest on that. Like, should have given ourselves some space. But like even experience doing it for, like, we need women to be sharing from our, you know, from our voices, like from like right deep down in our freaking womb space, like in our guts, and telling those stories. You know, I've gone to publishers and they've told me there's too much I in this book. There's too much I. And that's because they don't want us to have our voices.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you're doing. That's why I love when somebody chooses to self-publish, because they're like, you know, it's like, actually, I'm gonna share my voice anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We don't want voices that are kind of policed or toned by an editorial. We need editors. I'm an editor. We need editors. But do you know what I mean? Like, by an editorial team who have an agenda is what I'm saying.
Exactly. And we kind of remove the art. We can remove the I ourselves. We can do that, like, from moment to moment every day. It's like, oh yeah, I don't want to put too much of myself into this, into what I'm saying or what I'm writing, because, you know, what I hear a lot is women thinking, oh, maybe it's self-indulgent to kind of write about myself.
Right.
And it's like, this is what I want to hear about.
Like, as someone who coaches people to write, and also as someone who has been an editor in a big, you know, in like Penguin and in HarperCollins, and as someone that's published with like HarperCollins, with Hay House, with other people, like, so I've got like a view on all of those places, and just recognizing that sometimes those stories come in with, like you say, without the I in it, because already they've toned themselves.
Yeah.
And yes, there's going to be some publishers who still believe that they're like gatekeepers, and so therefore they can dictate like what people are going to receive, what people need. They've got insight teams who tell them these are the trends, these are the things. Beautiful. Like, that's lovely. Like, know that happens, know that exists. And if you are called to write for a specific publisher, I mean, some people like really feel like that they're really drawn to a certain publisher and that they must publish with that publisher, then there will be a series of hoops, there will be a series of agendas that you have to adhere to, and then you have to kind of deal with that practice yourself. But in the, you know, the unfolding of that, you have to decide whether that works for you or not. But in the, you know, in the truth telling, in us telling our story, that's when the real magic happens. And like, it really, that end result, that book in our hand, really is a side effect. Like, it's like almost like a really nice dessert based on the dinner, which was the process.
I love that.
Which is you, isn't it? Like, it's you. It's like everything you've experienced through the writing process, through the sharing, and for including the freaking eyes. Like, this is my story. This is how it was for me. Yeah. And we need the mirrors. Like, we don't have enough mirrors in our society. We have a lot of people kind of talking down to us, telling us how it should be, what we should do, how we should show up. And there's no mirrors of, yeah, this is how it was for me. It was shitty. Oh, this was how it was for me. It was amazing. But this happened and this happened. So don't do that, because when I did that, it was messy. I mean, do it, but also do it with the understanding that I did that and it was messy. You know, those sort of things. Like, that's what we need.
So powerful. Absolutely. And definitely, like, allow yourself to have the process. Like, even, you know, like you said, if you're going to work with a certain publisher and it may get kind of, you know, edited and the tone change, you know, fine, but allow yourself to go there and have that experience first. Because, you know, I love the way you were talking about it. Like, the book is just like the kind of dessert at the end.
Like, I know it sounds awful, and it's very easy for you and I as published authors to say that, because if you haven't published a book, like, sometimes it really is holding it in your hands, smelling it, recognizing that, you know, I don't want to take that away, but also don't get locked, you know, especially if you do choose to get published with a publisher. What normally happens is, like, your publication date won't be for 2 years, but your writing process, you'll be allowed like 3 to 6 months, right? And so actually that process has to be sacred. And otherwise, like, you're not going to receive what you need from it. I know from, you know, I'm sharing again, like, from my own experience, like, I've written for hire. So That means that somebody gives you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in the day. I've written a Justin Bieber annual too, just saying, like, do you think that's to make some money?
How transformational was that?
I mean, should we go there? It was very transformational.
We could do a whole interview just about that, Lisa.
Justin Bieber. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, therefore, you're given a brief, you're told what to do, you're told how to deliver it, and so you just do the work. Whereas, like, if this is your book, if this is a real dream to share this story, this medicine, whatever, like, you hold true and real that you want to put on paper and put out in a book, like, that process has to be a sacred one, because a publisher's not going to hold that. If you're going to publish for a publisher, so I'm just assuming like that.
Yeah.
The truth, if in that example, it means that the process isn't going to be quite as sacred. There's going to be a deadline. It's going to be a So you have to hold it. You have to be the one that's quite clear on this. I need this. Like, I need to receive as much as I need to give in the writing process. Because if you don't, that when the book comes out, you feel it, and that's not fun. I've done that too. Where I've kind of done something I was green. I was green as a beginning author and putting that out there, and then being like, oh, I didn't even enjoy that. I missed it. I missed the enjoying of it. Because I was too busy worrying that this was going to be right, or whether this publisher would like this, or whether they would like me, or how will it be received. Like, I missed the whole process.
Exactly. That's so kind of helpful, to hear that, because I think it's so easy just to get hung up on what people are going to think of it when you're in the writing process, and it completely gets in the way of what is wanting to come through. So how do you make it a sacred process for yourself, Lisa?
I do ritualize the shit out of my writing process now. Like, I really like I get very, like, it's all, I'm obsessed with smell. So I'll create, like, for that book, like, if I was writing my dream book right now, which would be the fiction book, because I'm still got it in my head. I still really want to write a fiction book. So if I'm planning that, for example, then it would be like, I would think of the main character, and I would create a scent that was just for that character. And so I would either, or like there would be a smell that is associated with it, like a candle smell that I love. Like, and it would be like, right, okay, so every time I sit down to write, I would light that candle. But I do that for non-fiction as well. Like, I do the same. Each book has its own energy, right? So I tune into the energy of the book. Like, Love Your Lady Landscape had a signature song, which was like This Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Had a signature scent. And so every time I sat down to write, like, I'd play that song, and I'd light that candle, and then I'd just dive in, and I'd write some words really quick, even if they were shit words, even if they were words that, like, were nothing to do with the book. But, like, I would just be like, look at me, I'm a writer and I'm writing words. Because, like, then, like, it's a trickery, like, like, writing a book, we have to trick ourselves all the time. Even people that love the idea of being a writer, the actual act of writing, I'll be hard put. And then maybe you've met some people through doing this, I don't know, who are like, yes, I love it, who are writing a book. Like, you can love it if you're writing a journal. People are like, I'm writing in my journal. But if you are writing a book, that's when all the fear gets in. It's when the inner critic comes up. It's like all of the thoughts are loud and shouty in your head. So the actual act of it, you have to trick yourself on a daily basis to get your ass to the chair and type.
That is so true. I've used those exact words. It is like, like tricking yourself kind of to get into the, and once you're in it, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Exactly, which is why I always say, like, have a shit page where you're, like, literally writing the same word over and over and over again until, like, you're like, I'm a writer, I'm doing this, and then, like, something will move through. But generally, I like to kind of have a smell, and also I do set myself, and some people are weird about this, but I will tell myself, you've only got 20 minutes, Lisa, so just get what you can down. Just get what you can down. Yeah. I know I've got longer, but if I know that I've only got 20 minutes, and for some people, like mamas and people that are busy, that are kind of writing around a job that they've already got and stuff, like maybe they've only got 20 minutes. So, but telling yourself, setting yourself a little time zone, like just a little bit of time. is just to go, right, okay, I'm going to get what I need to get out in that amount of time. And then I sometimes find that I've kind of gone on for an hour and I'm like, oh, go me. Yeah. Other times I'm like, no, that 20 minutes is plenty today.
It's like, has it gone yet?
Yeah. I'm like,
damn, I've still got 17 minutes left.
Why is it only 10 minutes? Feels like 10 hours.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll say, look, it doesn't even have to be for the book. I'm just going to write something, whatever, that's fine.
That's
but
true too, right? It doesn't have to be the thing.
I'll just write whatever wants to come through. And lots of different ways. That could be a blog post, ways to trick yourself into writing a book.
It sounds so ungrateful from people that are published, and they're like, why don't they love writing? They're so lucky. I'm like, I know, but like, you really do. When you're on a deadline, or when you know you've got to produce a thing, like you get swervy with your brain. Like, you get very swervy. Like, you find all the ways to get out of doing the thing that you'd love to do, because God forbid, like, you actually getting to do the dream job that you've always dreamed of doing.
We're so complex, aren't we? The way we kind of.
But for women as well, I do think it's a lot to do with the fact that we've been silenced and shushed and toned for so long, that given the opportunity to tell our story, whether it's through speech or whether it's through the written word, like, there is a lot of complexity to it. So it's not something that just comes real easy, unless you're writing a 5-point plan kind of book where which is totally cool, or Justin Bieber annual, just saying. Like, but if you're doing any of those things, it's a little bit easier, right? But like, if you, in any way you're sharing, like medicine, if you're sharing like an experience, anything that's really gonna be impactful, or means that you have to be brave or vulnerable or courageous in order to share it, then that's not going to always be the easiest thing to share.
Exactly.
Or find a way in which to go, I'd love to share I'd love to pull my innards out and put it on a page and put it out in the world, Like, that's why we have to do mind trickery.
Well, as you're speaking about that, and like, what can come up, because as women we have been silenced, and it makes me think of when I was reading Witch, and I can't remember the exact kind of quote from it, Lisa, so you have to excuse me, but it was something like I could totally make up my own words there. But it's something like, speak your truth even when your voice shakes. It was something like that. And I was just like, I don't know, there was something about those words. It wasn't even the words, but like the kind of energy in them. I just felt it in my whole body when I read them. And it's like,
I think for so many of us, we don't feel safe, right? Like, so we don't feel safe to speak our truth. We don't feel safe to share our story. And that's like fair enough, because for most of us as women, like, we're holding like the wounds of generations regarding telling our stories or being hurt. So when it comes to telling that story, I say that, and I say it from a place of, this is not a comfy place. You wouldn't imagine it. I mean, gobbing on, but like, it's not a comfy place to speak out loud. It's why I write, because writing is easier. But that's still misinterpreted. Like, writing can be misinterpreted. You could be misunderstood. Like, you can share something and you think it's so truthful, so real, and then in a world where right now people are very easily offended and like to take offense at a lot of things, then like, there's a chance that you could offend someone. So then the safety element is paramount for us. We're like hyper vigilant, because as women, like, we've experienced this over and over and over again. We've shared our voice. Somebody's found that, well, she's too powerful, oh, she's too much, oh, she's too loud. We've shared that, and we've either been hung for it, we've been drowned for it, we've been burned for it, whatever, right? Like, so we carry that in our very beings, in our bodies.
Yeah.
And that's true for our mamas, and for so when we do share our story, we're doing a lot of healing work. We're doing it on behalf of like generations.
Yeah.
But it don't mean that it's going to be easy. And so we want the safe option. Like, I want to find the safety, but that's why we have to create the safety. Like, and I say that, and I do say that in the book, that we have to create the safety. We have to find a way in which it's safe for all of us to share our voice. Like, I don't agree with a lot of people. That's just like a random comment. Like, I said in the book, see, this is what I mean. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to speak out loud. Like in the book I say, like, we don't have to agree with every woman. We don't have to be every woman's friend. But any opportunity, like with your publishing imprint, you know, any opportunity we can to support women to have a voice, to experience the process of sharing their story and to have it heard, to have it read, to have it experienced, we have to support that. Like, you don't have to agree with the topic, you don't have to agree with the rhetoric or whatever it is regarding it, but we do have to be like, woman is on a stage speaking out. Like, you know, when like Hillary Clinton was going for president, you know, people were like, oh, Marianne Williamson's going right now, right? Everyone's calling them out, like trying to find some really shady things about them. Fine, you don't have to agree with their politics, but it is a woman speaking out. That's kind of awesome in a world where women don't speak out a ton.
Exactly.
Do we want people to do better? Of course we do, but like, can we just be grateful for like each little step? Let's not run too fast, because then we miss out on all these amazing opportunities for everyone to have a voice. Because if we're vilifying that person, that one woman who's daring to have a voice, if we vilify her, there's like thousands of other women who are like, fuck that, I'm not doing that.
Right, exactly. You know, I see it, and no, regardless of whether I agree with what a woman is saying or sharing, you know, you see the comments like on social media, or you hear someone kind of criticizing like for something that's like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that, and it's like, oh my God, what are people thinking about what I you know? And it just, even though maybe consciously you can kind of put it to one side, that impacts us, doesn't it? You know, we carry all of that, and that fear of being attacked in some way is so strong. Yeah.
And that's why we have to, it's not like feel the fear and do it anyway, because I'm not really into that. Like, don't put yourself in places of danger. Like, that's not necessary. Like, don't do things that you don't want to do. Like, that's not, you know, that's not it. But if like you have a strong pull, like if it's a stronger pull to share than it is to not, if it's more painful not to share your story than it isn't, you know, if it's a much more painful to sit with that story, then you have to create the safe space, which is why I ritualize everything, which is why I ask that it's just received with the goodness that it is intended. You know, like everything I write, like, please receive whatever is shared with the good and love that is intended, right? Like, that's all we can do. And hope that, you know, did I receive the medicine? Yes. Did I transform in the process of writing this book? Absolutely. In Code Red? Absolutely. Recognize that I was sharing something that I didn't think was that taboo, but turns out it was crazy taboo at that time. But blessed are we that 2019, that's not many years, like that has definitely created you know, there's definitely a change. So I'm not saying Code Red did that, I just mean that there's been a wave.
Wow. Yeah,
like, you know, in which that's been able to happen, and so that's cool. So like, we've got to be grateful we're in a world where it's moving that quick.
Exactly, but someone has to go first, and like you said, you know, you were definitely part of that, Lisa. It was the first time I'd heard, you know, anyone talking about kind of the fact that we were cyclic beings and period, you know, talking about it in that way. I don't think I'd heard anyone before you, so someone has to be part of that first part of the wave.
And that's cool, right? Like, it's good that you know, and that's what we need, is for people to feel safe enough to do that, is what I mean. And like, that's why I self-published it, so that I knew that it wasn't going to have anyone else's agenda on it. This is what I say, no one was going to publish it. I tried. I really tried. But that showed me, as somebody who had worked in an industry that I thought like would be open to, you know, was ready for this sort of material. It wasn't, and I was like, interesting. And you know, and then the same with Love Your Lady Landscape. Yes, it was taken by a publisher. Was it the book that I would have wanted to share? 85%. But there was some compromise, including the cover, including, you know, a lot of compromise. And the same for Witch, you know, if you're going to publish with a publisher, there'll be compromise. And so you have to, I think I sneaked a few more things into Witch than I was able to. I was like a little bit like, oh, it's a new publisher with Love Your Lady Landscape. But then with Witch, I was like, right, I think I've got this figured out. Like, I think I've got this, like, sneaky Scorpio in me was like, right, okay, I think I can sneak that in. But yeah, I think And you know, with each book, like there's something different that moves through you, and if you let it become what you need it to be as well. So but I believe first and foremost, even if you are publishing with a publisher, it has to be for you first. Like, don't be necessarily thinking about like who's my audience, who's my ideal reader, like da. It's like, selfishly, like, this is going to be for me. The processes be for me. The storytelling will be for me. The therapy that I get from sharing and the realizations that happen just in the writing of a shitty first draft, like about who you are as a person, about how you respond to like not only the material, but like we were talking about, like how we respond to the critic or what the critic says. And like, is that mine, or is that like societal, or is that mine, or is that like what my mum would have said in regards to this?
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Lisa, we were saying like before we hit record, I was like, well, I'm not sure if we'll be able to eke this out. I knew, like you said, we could speak like literally for probably 24 hours about it. We've like covered just such a small bit of what we could talk about, but oh my goodness, such a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you so much for, you know, not just your writing but everything you do in the world. Like I said, I mean, I can't believe it was only like 4 years ago that you wrote Code Red, and like I said, that was the first time really I'd heard someone talking about it, which is like crazy. And that things have moved so quickly. I think this is something, you know, things are moving really quickly now, so we do need more women to be sharing their stories and their voices to kind of guide us and to kind of keep us kind of anchored in ourselves at these times. So thank you for being part of that, such a big part of it.
Oh, thank you for providing a space for women to have their voice. This is what's necessary.
Yeah. So Lisa, how can people find out more? What's the best way for people to find out more about you and what you do and your books?
My website is www.thesassyshe.com. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but so like Facebook is not it, Twitter is not it, like, so don't be looking there. Instagram I kind of love some. So that's at Sassy Lisa Lister.
Perfect. We'll put all the links below the video so people can find you easily. But like I said, thank you so much, Lisa. Could literally talk to you.
This is what happens when you've silenced women for millennia.
I know. It's like, you can't shut up. Oh, thank you, and we will see you again soon for another episode of Unbound as well. Thank you. Bye.